Alright, guys. Well, I'm driving home from the shop thinking about a couple calls that I had today and figured a video might be good for a lot of small businesses, especially automotive shops. This is specific for automotive shops, but this can be implemented for pretty much any industry, whether you're doing woodworking or any labor-based market, basically. So today I had probably 3 or 4 calls or messages about people asking why they can't close deals with potential clients, right? They get inquiries and then they just spit out a number off the top of their head and people don't go for it. I decided, rather than me answering every single person that I get this from, which is at least a few times a week, a video is probably a good way of explaining it. So, by just spitting off a number off the top of your head, clients are like, their first thought is, wow, that's a lot of money for what I asked for. Maybe that's the case, probably not. But the reason why they think that right off the top of their head is because you didn't give any context, right? You don't explain how much each part of the process costs. You don't explain how much the materials cost. Having it pretty well broken down to explain why you charge what you charge is key to landing clients. So I'll give you an example. I had a client one day, this was years ago. They asked, for a all-over paint job, exterior only, and I just off the top of my head was like, that job is going to be probably about $5,000, right? And they were like, why is it so expensive? And I was like, you know what? I bet that is exactly what every customer thinks whenever I just shoot off numbers. So I said, give me a few minutes and I'll break it down. So I started by obviously taking care of the car, writing an invoice, that kind of stuff. Those are hours. So right off the top, there's 2 or 3 hours right there, right? On top of that, you have to sand the vehicle, you have to prep the vehicle, you have to take apart the vehicle. So let's say 20 hours there. These are completely, just off the top of my head. I'm not actually thinking about a job, but just for example's sake, say 20 hours, right? Spraying, masking, unmasking, denibbing if need be, and reassembly, another 20 hours. And then walking over the car, cleaning up, and talking with the customer, another 2 hours, right? So that's 2 hours, 20 hours, 20 hours, and 2 hours, right? So that's 44 hours. So billable hours, 44 hours, times, say $100 just to make it easy, right? So that's $4,400 in labor. And then materials is, say, my cost is $150 for clear, $150 for primer, say $150 of random sandpaper, masking, that kind of stuff. And then, so that's $450 in material. I mark my materials up 30%. So that would be 90, I think 135 if I'm right. So the total is 685 if I'm right. Let me know if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right off the top of my head. So 685 plus 4,400. So, that's how I have it broken down on the invoice. And then obviously tax, that kind of stuff. So then I go back to him. I was like, yeah, I was about right with 5,000. An exact invoice is a little bit more than that. This is a dedicated price. The only way this price would change is if either, say something is actually wrong when I see the car, like have to do some body work on some panels, that kind of stuff. But that's the base invoice for what is on the invoice, right? Long story short, they went with the job. They said, actually, you're very affordable given how much work there is. Didn't realize that it took that much, materials, and that much time, right? So basically, that is how you need to break down your invoices. Best way I've found is actually, say a customer, asks for a quote, ask them, if you want a roundabout estimate or if you want a broken down direct estimate, right? So the way I do it is if they say roundabout, right? Just that way you're not wasting a ton of time breaking down every single line item. Just off the top of your head, say this is about what it'll be. Think in your head, 8 hours, 20 hours, whatever you want to do, right? And on a quick estimate, just break down the hours, break down about how much material off the top of your head, and about the prices, and just tell them this is a complete estimate. If you would like a broken down, more in-depth estimate with me actually spending time looking up materials, really looking at the photos that you're sending of your vehicle, that kind of stuff, I could do that. But to do that, usually I take a deposit, right? So I give a basic price for free because, it doesn't take much time, takes maybe a minute off the top of your head. And then to have a more broken down invoice, that means they're going to do the job and you're going to do an actual invoice, which takes time. So I always, anytime I do an invoice or an estimate, an actual real estimate, I charge at least an hour to do an estimate. So that's where, at that point, I take money from them no matter what, right? So normally, say the job's $5,000, I take at least $1,500 as a down deposit, and that's non-refundable because that goes towards material as well as saving their spot on my calendar, right? So no matter what, whether they bring the car or not, that's your money. So that is the proper way of estimating to hopefully land the job, right? This obviously, lands more jobs because you're showing the value in what you are offering them. And then B, it also is helping the customer help understand it, right? And see the value. And the last thing is you're not wasting your time breaking down an hour for a detailed invoice. Really, you're just going to spend a minute and give them a rough estimate, and then if they are serious, like if that estimate is like in the ballpark of what they can afford, then that's when you take the deposit, do a real invoice or real estimate, and start the job. So I hope this helps someone out there. I'm sure there's going to be people that say, this doesn't work for me. Sounds like you're going for the wrong clients. Try and adjust your marketing and go after higher end clients. There are tons of clients out there that don't want a $1,000 color change specials on their car. And again, as I said in the beginning, this isn't just for automotive. That was just my example because that's the industry I come from, but that goes for a custom epoxy table, right? People might be surprised whenever you just say, it's going to be $15,000 for a table. But if you break down the hours, the material, the process, right? They're a lot more likely to hand that money out because they see the value in your time and your efforts. But anyways, this is Tommy with the Spray Source as well as Alpha Pigments, and hopefully this helps you guys. Thanks.